Hello again. Welcome to another episode of Leading from Alignment with our good friend, coach, mentor, all around super duper guy, flies without a cape. I'm telling you, the guy's awesome. John Opalewski. How are you today, John?
Oh man, I don't know.
Oh
I
man.
don't know. I don't know how to respond to that.
Come on, show us. There's an S on your chest. Go ahead.
Yes. I better not do that. So yeah, Jim, I'm well. It's nice to be
Good.
with you. It's always fun to record.
Yeah.
Today specifically, I'm just interested to start this conversation. It's a two-parter.
Yeah.
Today's part one on the subject of why postponing hard conversations is costing you.
Yeah.
Um, I believe this, that
Mm.
one of the most common leadership lids is
Yes.
the unwillingness to engage in difficult conversations and make hard decisions.
Yeah.
And my
Mm.
goal today is to pry the cap off that lid to start the process.
Yeah. Good.
Um, here's the reason I believe that if I can't handle 100 people, and let's say I've got five or six people who are really difficult. Um, and I can't manage that. I can't interact the proper way there. Why would God give me another 100?
Yeah.
It just caps my leadership.
Yes,
And
it does.
so I want to stop there and just get your quick thought on this
Yeah.
subject, and then we're going to dive right into it.
Well, I think, again, let's define difficult people. I'll say this is kind of like a Jeff Foxworthy, you might be a redneck if list. If you're
Mm,
writing a message and you pull your punch because you know that Sister Coleslaw will know you're talking about her when you say that, you have a problem. If you want
mm,
to start something new, but you know there are people that are in opposition to the changes you made thus far, and so you're not making those changes, you have a problem. If you are hoping like I did in junior high school, that if I just ignored the girl, she would break up with me and I wouldn't have to break up with her. And that's the way you're
hmm
leading. You have a problem. And I,
Yeah,
I think, you say difficult situation, difficult conversation. I think it's important. There's 1,000 different situations and 1,000 different personalities and 1,000 different reasons. But these are the people that when you have a dream in your heart, this is what's challenging that dream. I've talked to hundreds of pastors
yes,
who are discouraged and are quitting the ministry over the course of 30 years. None of them are quitting the ministry because they don't believe God called them to the ministry or they're no longer anointed to be in ministry. It's always people. They grow so
yes,
frustrated, so overwhelmed by the opposition that eventually they can't envision a tomorrow that has less disappointment in it than today. And they make the
yeah.
mistake of quitting rather than summoning somehow the courage to confront. So I believe this is one of the biggest topics we can talk about because this is why a lot of anointed and called ministers are now selling cars. Is because of difficult
Yeah.
conversations with difficult people. So I'm excited to hear the rest of your thoughts.
So I've discovered a few things, mostly the hard way, about
Yeah.
navigating conflict.
Yeah.
Um, First of all, that church conflict is hardly new. The Apostle Paul wrote letters attempting to resolve disputes in the early Christian congregations.
Yeah.
Church history is filled with stories of theological and personal divisions.
Yeah.
We've got the modern conversation around church trauma that has focused primarily on abuse victims within congregations, and I think that
Yeah.
emphasis is necessary and overdue. But there is another reality in those scenarios that the clergy themselves are awfully deeply wounded by those conflicts too.
Yeah.
So church conflict is hardly new. There is no such thing as avoiding conflict. We only postpone conflict. You taught me that one. I learned that
Yeah.
one from you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Sooner or later, conflict will need to be dealt with.
Yeah.
I don't know how many years ago this was. Let's just say it doesn't matter. Maybe it was 8 years ago. I was flying to Montana for 3 or 4 days of ministry. Unbeknownst to me, the day before, I was eating some popcorn, and I got a seed popcorn hull and bit on it, and felt a little, twinge, but I didn't think of
Yeah.
much of it. Well,
Mm.
I had cracked my molar, and
Oh.
and so I get to Montana that day and I'm in pain.
Yeah.
And every successive day, the pain increased, the swelling of my
Mm,
face increased. Probably one of the most painful things I ever
yes.
had. And so I got home from that trip at like 1 in the morning, and I'm just in agony. And I get to the dentist the next morning. I call the dentist, say, "Hey, I've got a problem." Dentist looks
Yeah.
at it, says, "I can't help you. You got to go to the endodontist." The
Mm,
endodontist numbs me up, uh, drills a little hole, puts a camera in there, says, "We can't salvage the tooth. It's cracked in 3 areas.
mm.
But you've got to go to the oral surgeon now."
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So I go to the oral surgeon and they extract the tooth, and he
Mm,
says, "One more day and you would have been in ICU."
yeah.
And I remind pastors who dance around conflict that,
Mm,
hey, you're already in pain.
yeah.
You can deal with it now while it's still
Yeah.
manageable, or you can deal with it later when it's in ICU territory.
Yeah.
And here's what I didn't understand in the early stages of ministry, Jim, that pastors who intend on leading for the long haul need steel in their spine.
That's
And
good
that
word.
includes periodically dealing directly, honestly, and lovingly with difficult people. So church conflict is hardly new. There's
Yeah.
no such thing as avoiding conflict, only postponing. And
Yeah.
thirdly, that longevity and fruitfulness in ministry requires pastors to make tough people
Yeah.
decisions and engage in difficult conversations.
Yeah.
Listen, it's no fun dealing with boundary crashers
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and dividers and gossips, square pegs and round holes, underperforming staff members. It creates stress for any leader,
Yeah.
but it creates more stress for leaders who don't feel equipped
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
handle that. So I want to stop there. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and then we're
Yeah.
going to jump into the beginning stages of how
Okay.
do we navigate this broad area of
You
hard
know that
conversation.
the thing that comes to mind is just like, well, it's that's just the way she is. That's just the way he acts. That's just the way we start making excuses. And it feels noble, but it's really cowardice. And I think if you look at, Paul's trying to contrast the fruit of the spirit with the deeds of the sinful nature.
Yeah.
And right between witchcraft and orgies is dissension, gossip, and factions. And
Mm,
it seems like there should be an ascending or descending list. It should start with something small and get big, or big and get small.
yeah.
They're all big. And you say, well, wow, it's right between witchcraft and orgies. Well, let me ask you this. You walk out of church on Sunday morning, you walk into the foyer, and there's a guy laying naked in a pentagram of goat's blood chanting to Satan. Chances are you're going to say something to that guy,
That's
right?
right.
But yet I've never known a church that was destroyed by a Satanist. Not one. Um,
Mm,
Orgies. Well, let's not use the same example as we did with the goat's blood, but again, you stumble across something and there's church members and they're engaged in something that's not proper, you would say something about it, and you say it strongly because it's just so obviously wrong. We look at gossip like this universal thing that people do, and factions, well, they have their opinions. Like, no, these again, I've never known a church destroyed by witchcraft or orgies. I've known all the churches that have been destroyed have been destroyed from the inside out, mostly because of what we're talking about today, because
yeah,
we delayed it. We treated it as if it was something small or something normal or something to be tolerated. It is not. And
that's right.
back to your broken tooth, it will get worse and worse and worse until it's dealt with. And hopefully we deal
Right.
with it before it's terminal.
That's right. So I want to talk today and then next week as well about this whole idea of navigating hard conversations, navigating conflict. There are two
Yeah.
stories, Jim, that you're going to tell when it comes to this particular challenging aspect of leadership. One is the story you tell yourself,
Yeah.
and two is the story you're going to tell the person or persons at the epicenter of the conflict.
Okay.
I want to talk the rest of today about the story you tell yourself.
It's good. That's important.
How important it is when we come into these hard conversations and conflict. The ability to navigate conflict is, I think, grounded in actually in three things. First, uh, it's the belief. this
Yeah.
belief that your core identity is not defined by what you do, it's defined by who you belong to.
Yeah. Huge.
So for a pastor, a Christian, that means you're a son or daughter who is deeply loved by God. And when
Yeah.
you bring that belief into moments of conflict, it gives you solid footing.
Yeah.
Your value's not on trial, even if the situation is intense. See, we bring a belief or a set of beliefs into every conflict, into every hard conversation about ourselves.
Yeah.
So the belief. Second part of the story you tell yourself has to do with behavior. It has to do
Yeah.
with behavior. Learn to become your own best friend
Yeah.
instead of your own worst critic.
Yeah.
The internal dialogue you carry into conflict matters more than you think.
Yes. Huge.
Yeah. So when your self talk is gracious and grounded in truth, it steadies you. When it's unkind or distorted, it undermines you. The way you speak to yourself, listen, Pastor, will either prepare you to engage that conflict or that conversation well, or it will sabotage you before you even begin.
Yeah.
So I want to stop there. I'd love to hear your thought about that.
Yeah. I think that the thought of the things I tell myself walking into conflict, it varies depending on the conflict. But something that really has
Okay.
helped me through the years is they may be smarter than I am. They may be right. I may be wrong. They may be pure. I may be ugly. I don't know. It's hard to tell sometimes when you're passionate about it. But one thing that does differentiate us is I'm the pastor. So I have authority and I am tasked by God to make these hard decisions
Hmm.
and whatever the repercussions are. Again, I think I've said this before. It's a terrible analogy, but it works in my brain that somebody with an opinion and someone with authority sits down to have a conversation about a topic. It's kind of like the person with the opinion brings a knife into a gunfight. So I don't have to yell at the person. I have to feel justified, make them wrong so that I can be justified in being right. I'm safe in my position. I'm safe in the love of Christ. I'm safe in my
That's right.
identity. So gently, even with a smile on my face, I can say, hey, we're going to be heading in a different direction. I know that probably, affects you in an emotional way. And I want to give you time and space, versus you've been doing a bad job. You're a bad person. You're making me do a bad thing. You're fired. A
Yeah.
person with a gun doesn't need to negotiate, doesn't need to manipulate, doesn't need to, come in with his tail between his legs or come in with his guns
Yeah.
blazing. There is a sense of I've been sent by the Lord, and to the best of my ability. I don't believe I'm wrong. If I am wrong, God forgive me. But I believe I'm right to do what I'm about to do. I've made a decision. I'm confronting an issue. I'm confronting you about your heart, your words, your actions, but I can do it from security. And what's funny is when I'm secure, somehow it makes them safe and makes it better. Even the confrontation can be
I think
better
so.
because I come in like
Yes.
fighting. Well, I'm not calling anybody pigs, but the analogy stands that if you wrestle in the mud with a pig, you both get dirty, but the pig actually likes it. They're comfortable in the dirt. But I come in not wrestling with pigs, but coming in saying, hey, you either need to decide that you're not a part of this or take a bath and come on in. But
Hmm.
we're not, you've been doing something that's unfruitful. I'm calling you to account for it. And they can say, how dare you? I've been here since you were born. All that's true. I might be completely wrong, but one thing is true, and that is I'm responsible to the Lord for the words I'm saying right now in a way, and for this position in a way that you can't even fully comprehend. So
That's right.
I've made the decision. This is what it is. I love you. I want to help you
Yeah.
through it. If this isn't the vision that you want, and if I'm not the pastor you want, that's absolutely okay. But this is no longer your church.
Yeah. And
You
so
know,
all of that comes out of that original thought that God's assigned me to be
yes,
here.
I'm safe. I'm
So
safe and
this is
guarded.
that's the self-talk, right? Like, okay,
Yeah,
God, you've assigned me to give leadership. You've assigned me to
yes,
shepherd. You've assigned me to protect. You've assigned me to have this conversation with this person in the
yeah,
hopes that there will be meaningful change
Yeah.
in their life. And so, Pastor, I want to fire off a question at you today. What story are you telling yourself that stops you from engaging
Yeah.
conflict? What is it?
Yeah.
Is it, I can't do this? Yes, you can.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, you probably have done this in the past. You just forgot about it, because a lot of
Yeah.
water's gone under the dam or over the
Yeah.
dam. And so, yeah, this running conversation we have with ourselves, the story we tell ourselves is either setting us up for success in the conversation or
Yeah.
less than that. What gets in our way? Fear. Um, I've learned that the build up to a hard conversation is worse than the actual hard conversation
Yes.
almost every time.
Yes, it is. That's good.
And and I have to remind myself that.
Yeah.
So uh, I'm going to say this. Look, just because we're talking about this and we're kind of pushing you and encouraging you doesn't mean that we like doing this stuff. We don't
Mhm.
like we
No, no.
don't like this. As a matter of fact, if you get your
Yeah.
jollies doing this, I'm concerned about you. We need to talk
Yes.
about that.
Yeah.
Um, but if you avoid and you postpone and you shift and you and you deflect and you
Yeah.
pray for Jesus to come back before you have the hard conversation, it's a
Yeah.
problem, right?
Yes.
Um, so, Pastor, what story are you telling yourself that stops you from navigating conflict well?
Yeah.
Listen, you have to become your own best friend.
Yeah.
You have to remind yourself that you're loved by God, that you're
Yeah.
called by God, that
Yeah.
He's given you the goods to do this, and you can do it in a way that is uh, uh, direct, truthful,
Yeah.
and God honoring and people honoring, all at the same time. So there's the belief, right? Who do I
Yeah.
belong to? There's the behavior. And when I mean behavior, I mean that conversation that we have with ourselves
Yeah.
that either is a predictor of success or a predictor of a lack thereof. But
Yeah.
I think that starting with the story you tell yourself not doesn't just have to do with belief or behavior, Jim. I think it also has to do with perspective. That would be the third thing. Here's the perspective about conflict
Hmm.
and seeing it as an opportunity for growth
Yeah.
for you as a leader and for
Yeah.
those you lead.
Yeah.
Now, not every disagreement is disunity
Hmm. Yeah.
or divisiveness. And I think we got to be careful here, right?
Sure. That's a good point.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Dear old saint, many years ago, walked up to me, and we were in the worship center, and she said, "Pastor, it's so cold in here." And um, my brain was working very fast in the moment. It's like, okay, I'm not changing the thermostat because then we'll have people who are too warm.
Yeah.
So I just put my arms around her and I said, I'm so sorry that you're cold.
Hmm.
And she sat down and I didn't touch the thermostat. And she never complained about it again. She wasn't being divisive. She was
Yeah.
it was just it wasn't a thing. And sometimes I think we get into problems when we think everything contrary rises to the level of I got to have a hard conversation with this person. I gotta
No.
you know what I'm saying? So we have to be
Yeah.
super discerning. uh, Not every disagreement is disunity. I'll give you an example in Acts chapter 6.
Okay.
The widows were saying, hey, we're being overlooked
Yeah.
in the daily distribution of food. And what do the disciples say? They got together and they said, hey, it wouldn't be right for us to neglect the ministry of prayer and the word. So they select these guys, these men, and say, hey, you guys, this, we want you to manage this. We want you to deal with this problem. And they did, and they
Yeah.
took care of it. And crisis was averted. And I want to point this out. Notice this accurate story the disciples told themselves. They said it would not be right for us.
Yeah.
They came and they told themselves the right story.
Right.
And because they did, they came up with this simple solution to a legitimate problem,
Yeah.
partly, Jim, because they told themselves the right story.
Yeah. It's good.
I don't know that the outcome would have been as good if they said, "Oh, panic mode. We've got to jump in. We got to drop everything else we're doing, and
Right. Right. Right.
we're going to start, loaves and fishes being multiplied. Here we go again. Like I got to deal with all this stuff." Um, you know, I think when we look at conflict or we look at a hard conversation as something that we wish it didn't exist, that we think if I had to do anything, if I could get rid of anything that I do, this would be it. I think
Yeah.
our perspective needs to shift, Jim. We need
Yeah.
to tell ourselves a different story. Hey,
Yeah.
maybe this is an opportunity for me to grow. Maybe this is an opportunity for this person to grow. Maybe this person has had nobody in their life who loves them enough
Yes.
to tell them, hey, when you do that, this is what happens to people in the debris field of that behavior.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's not acceptable.
Right.
We're going to figure out a different way forward. And I don't know that I've ever heard anybody talk about conflict this way,
Hmm.
that it starts with this story that you're telling yourself. I want to stop there and because I talked for a long time, just want to hear your
Yeah.
thoughts. And then I got one more thought.
Okay. Yeah. I think leadership from the outside looks great. You stand up and preach a message and people walk to an altar. You lead a song and people sing. You lead an organization and people come to it. What you don't realize from the outside is that you're actually managing the amount of pain you think people are able to accept and continue to be a part of what you're doing. That is a better definition of leadership. It's not leading people where they want to go. It's helping them face themselves and others, and that can be very painful. So the thermostat, for
Yes.
example, the cold, right? She thought it was too cold. Let's take a poll on any Sunday morning. How many think it's too cold in here? How many think the music's too loud? How many think that the service is too long? And if 40% say yes, and 40% say no, and 20% say I like it, you're actually leading well, even though 80% of the people want it different. That's the reality of leadership. It looks like everybody's on board and they're all buying your book and they're all
Yeah.
singing your songs. And wouldn't it be great to be, Chris Tomlin? Wouldn't it be great to be, like no, it's leadership. Leadership is not the moments that are public as much as it is the days and months and years where things happen privately, where you make
Yeah.
hard decisions. And if 80% of the people don't like it and only 20% of the people do, depending on how that breaks down, you could be an excellent leader, even though 80% of the people you lead want change. And that's disappointing. It's a little disillusioning. So
Hmm.
disenthrall yourself with the thought that leadership means everybody likes you. Every
Yeah.
conversation is fruitful and visionary. The reality is people are people. And when God wants to bless me, he sends me people. And when the devil wants to curse me, he sends me people. And often it's the same person, even in the course of the same day. So it just I like what you said. You and Jesus better be good because if you're getting from people what you should only be getting from the Lord,
Yeah.
I mean,
This
what
whole
God
thing
gives
goes
you, man
down.
can't take away. But what man give you,
Yeah.
men can take away. And
Yeah.
that's not good leadership. It's not good for your soul.
So, Pastor, I want you to think about the conflicts or the conversations you know you need to have.
Yeah.
Maybe that you've been postponing.
Yeah.
You have to start telling yourself the right story first.
Yeah.
Who you belong to, becoming your own best friend. Self-talk that is encouraging, that is accurate,
Yeah.
that actually has historical evidence to it. Um, and you have to tell yourself this is going to hurt I don't really want to do this, but maybe there's an opportunity for me to grow here. Maybe there's an opportunity for this person to grow. And when you combine those three things, the right belief with the right behavior and the right perspective, something shifts
Yeah.
on the inside of you. You're no longer defensive or reactive. You're grounded.
Yeah.
You're clear, you're steady, and that's what frees you, I think, to approach conflict with this quiet, holy confidence. And that kind of alignment doesn't happen accidentally. It's built intentionally. I've been
Yeah.
working on these three things for a long time, Jim, and I feel like I'm getting better at navigating these kinds of scenarios than I was 10 years ago,
Yeah.
15 years ago, 20 years ago. I don't enjoy them anymore. I
No.
mean, I have the same lack of enjoyment.
Yeah.
That hasn't shifted, but I've learned how to talk myself into the right spot, into the right
Yeah.
position. So next week in episode 347, we're going to explore part two of this, the second story, and that's the story you tell others.
Good.
And we're going to get uber practical about what we'll take a scenario and we'll just walk through a paradigm, a template of sorts. Now you're going to have to take the template and adapt it to your
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
But that's what's coming next week. So I'm
Love it.
hopeful. Jim, my hope in my heart is that um, we'll get better at doing this because it is part of the leadership calling. And it
Yeah.
is part, Pastor, it is part of God's development program for you. And if I was God, I wouldn't do it that way. But thank God I'm not God.
Yeah. Right.
We'd all be we'd all be a mess. So, Jim, that's what I have
Love
today.
it. All right. Well, John, on behalf of our listeners, thanks for your wisdom in this. I think what helps me most when I need to do this, have this sort of a conversation, is the calm assurance of friends who can feel what I'm going through and
Yeah.
assure me that I'm doing the right thing at the right time, in the right way, for the right reasons. There's a certain courage in that. And I say that because I think, again, in a coaching relationship, often this is what a coach comes in for is
Mm.
I want to make changes, but I don't know how. Well, you do want to make changes. You do know how. You're just concerned about how that affects other people. And so
Yes.
you're not taking courageous steps of reformation because you can't see past the three or four people that wouldn't want that. So we at Converge are helpful in this way to hear the situation, to hear your plans, to give input based on decades of experience if needed. But I think if anything else, it's just somebody else that's outside of the loop that there's a trust for that can say, you're doing the right thing. You're doing it the right way. You're doing it the right time. You're doing it for the right reasons. Now go do it. And as soon as you're done, call me and let's
Mm.
talk it through how things
Yeah.
went. And just that you're not alone, I think
And,
is helpful.
and Jim, you just described my early years in learning how to do this.
Yeah.
This was the methodology.
Yeah.
I knew a hard conversation was coming. I'd call my who guy that I would consider my coach. Now
Yeah.
I would call him that. Said,
Yeah.
"Hey, I've got this situation coming up. Here's kind of the lay of the land. Here's what I'm thinking. Here's some of the thoughts that I have. Can you give me a little bit of feedback on that?" And
Yeah.
he would, and then I would go and I would have that conversation, have that meeting, and then I
Yeah.
would come back and debrief
Yeah.
and then hit repeat. And
Yeah.
after a
Yeah.
while, I didn't need to go to him every time there was a
Right.
hard
Right.
situation because I had reps in, and
Yeah.
so I was building strength in that area. So Jim
Yeah.
wraps up today. I wish we had more
Yeah.
time to talk, but I think we got to
Well,
just
next week. Yeah, next week we'll talk some
yeah,
more. But in the
yeah.
meantime, convergecoach.com, if we can help you in any way, we'd love to. I think one of the advantages of being in our 60s is having a few decades of the reps that John just talked about.
Mhm.
Are we perfect? No. Are we wise?
All right.
Hopefully. Are we stupid? Probably not anymore. Probably not. If that's arrogant to say, forgive me. That might have been a stupid thing to say. But we again, we've played enough in the NFL to know how to help you score. So if we can assist you, we love it. Half hour for free. Let's see what's going on in your life, how we can help. God bless you, our watchers and listeners. We're here for you, literally here for you. So go back and get them. We believe in you. God's
Mhm.
going to get you through this. Don't quit and become a shoe salesman. Stay in the game, and we're here to help you do that as you continue to lead from alignment.